Let's install Cheat Engine. Go to Cheat Engine website. Now click on this green button and it will go into download. If you have any antivirus software, then it might be detected as a virus and stop the download. It's not a virus, so turn off the antivirus software and download it again. Now install the software. While installing, it will show some unwanted software, so simply click on decline and don't accept those. Then click on finish. Now right click on your cheat engine icon, go to properties, go to compatibilities. Now select the run as administrator option. If you are facing a problem at launching cheat engine after installation, it could be that your window protection is blocking this software. So simply go to settings and search for reputation based protection. Turn off potentially unwanted app blocking. Now open the cheat engine. First, we need to do some important settings. So go to edit, click on settings. In general settings, select this option, show all windows in the taskbar. Now go to hotkeys. Here you can set hotkeys. I only set few of them which we usually use the most. You can set whatever keys you want. Now go to extra custom types. If you want to use cheat engine for emulated games, then you need to select these options well. Now go to scan settings. Select the pause while scanning option on by default. This will pause the game while scanning is happening. Check all boxes here. If you are going to hack an emulator game, then you need to check all custom types as well. For now, we don't need this. Now the important setting is to check this option. Otherwise, all temporary files of cheat engine will be stored in the temp folder and it will increase storage usage unless you manually clean those. So select separate folder to store these temp files where you can easily access to clean those. If you are using cheat engine with emulator games, then select this box as well. Now go to debugger options. Change this to VH debugger. If you want, you can try different debuggers and test which one is giving better results for you. If you are not sure, then simply choose this. Now click on OK button. That's it. We're all set. The cheat engine interface looks like this. Here you can see scan tools section where we work most. Here we have our scan list. Here we have our address list. If you see, we have the add address manually option here. which is we can manually add address to the address list at any time. And we have the memory view option as well. Currently, it's blank because we have not added any process yet. If you feel overwhelmed at first, don't worry. I will explain every tool in detail, like I did in our Game Guardian series. For demonstrating this tool to you, I will use Cheat Engine's inbuilt tutorials and games for now. Don't worry, we will move on to actual games after knowing some fundamentals. I am choosing this one, but the one above is also the same. The only difference is the registers. The old tutorial only used 32-bit registers, and the new one shows the 64-bit registers as well. Okay, our tutorial has started. If you want, you can read this, but it's just saying how you can add the process or games or applications to your cheat engine. Click on this monitor icon. Here, we have three options: applications, process, and Windows. Usually, we use applications. If you want to hack particular process, then you can go to process and select the process you want. If you want to hack any particular window open in your system, then go to Windows option and select the particular window you want to hack. Based on the use cases, we need to select accordingly. In our case, applications is enough. Remember, before trying to add any application or any process or windows, make sure it is already open. Otherwise, it won't show here, just like our Game Guardian. Whoever used the Game Guardian might feel it is easy to use, even better. Now, I am going to select the application. If you see, we have other applications as well, but we will discuss those later. See, we successfully attached our application. We can see the application name here. If you see here, we have the password section. Every task have a password at the top of the task. Whenever you want to go to that particular task or exercise, simply enter that password here. Then it will directly jump to that task from the starting point. Otherwise, you need to play each task again to reach that level or exercise. When we start our scan, we need to click on this button. We have next scan and undo scan here. As the name suggests, these are used for the next scan and to undo our scans. Currently, we haven't started any scan, so it remains inactive. Here, we have our value section where we need to enter our values. We can convert those as hex as well. Here, we have our scan type. Most of these tools work similarly to Game Guardian. So whoever watch or has knowledge of using Game Guardian will understand these functions just by looking at these names. For those who don't know, I will give you a small description of these. If you know the exact value of the scan, you can use the exact value option by giving the value here. If you don't know the exact, but you know it is greater than or less than a particular value, then you can give the value and select the option accordingly. If you don't know the exact value but know the range of the value, which might be in between, then you can give the value range and select the value between option. If you don't know any initial value, then directly select unknown initial value. Here, we have value types. We already covered the data types many times in our Game Guardian series, so I'm not repeating those again. This is a Lua formula. We can use Lua language as well in Cheat Engine, like we did in Game Guardian. I will explain this later, but by hovering your cursor on the options, it will give you some description. You can read and understand those. If you click on this, it will scan everything except the value or range you have given. If you want to scan a particular memory, then you can do that here. Here we can specify the memory range as well. In that, you can select specific types of memory. If you hover over these options, you will get small description to understand. I will demonstrate this later. We don't use speed hack much, so I will cover this later. This option is used to delete all the addresses from the addresses list. Now, let's start our second task by clicking on the next button. Like I said before, we have the password for this task here. You can read the task details here. For this task, we need to find our health address and change it to 1000. In the task details, they already mentioned the data type of the health value is 4 bytes. Now, we know our initial value and data type. Here, I enter the health value and scan type and value type are already set to exact value and 4 bytes. So, I don't changing those. Now, run our first scan. See, our first scan is done and the next scan button is activated. In our scan list, we have some information about our scan like the address and current value, previous value and first value. Now to change our health value, click on the hit me button. See, our value is changed. Now scan again to filter our scan list. Enter the value again and click on the next scan option or simply click enter. See, we got our health value. If you want, you can do it again. Now select the address and click on this arrow button to move the selected address to address list, or simply double click on it. Then it will directly add to the address list. You can name it by clicking on it. If you click on here, it will show this window. Here you can see all details of the address. You can change the data type of the value here. You can see the preview of the value by hovering on different data types. Under here, we have some options. We can add and remove pointers as well. We will discuss about this later. Anyway, let's change this value to 1000 to get to next level. When I click on OK button, the next button will be activated. Now click on next. You can read the task details here. Now we don't have any initial value. We just have the health bar here. They mentioned the value is between 0 to 500, but we don't know exact value. Now tell me which scan type we need to select. If you think it's value between or unknown value or unknown initial value, then it's right. We can use any option in these two. I will use unknown initial value. They already mentioned that the data type is 4 bytes, so I don't change that. Let's start our scan. Now let's decrease our health by clicking on this button. See, our health decreased by 1. Now change it to decreased value by option because we know how much health is decreased. Sometimes we don't know how much value is decreased or increased. In that scenario, we have two options like decrease or increase to select. For this scenario, decrease value by option is best to get results fastly. Let's try again. See, we got our value. Let's change it to 5000. Click on next. You can read the task details here. Now, we need to find these two values and change those to 5000. But the twist is, these both are different data types. So let's find those one by one. First, let's find health value, which is float data type. We know our exact value and the data types, so it is more easy to find. I set the value to 100 and data type to float. Now run the scan. We got our value. To confirm it, let's change our health value. Now run again. Now let's change the value to 5000. I will name this to health. Now let's find ammo. For this, we need to change the data type. Do the same process. See, the next button is activated. Let's click on it. Sometimes game changes the value location while you are playing or you restart the game. In that situation, the address which you found previously or won't work anymore. To solve this problem, we need to have the instruction or code which is responsible of changing that value. Now let's see how to do that. Here, our task is to stop the value changing. First, let's find the value address. See, we got it. Now we need to stop changing this value. Some people think like if freeze the value, then the problem will be solved. But let me tell you that freeze will not completely stop the instruction or code to do that particular task by freeze. For example, you have 100 health and you take some damage. Now your health is 64. You freeze the health at 64. Now you take 20 damage. It will decrease to 44 in background, but it will fill back to 64 again in less than a second. We can't even see that change, so that's why we feel like there is nothing happening to that value. But in some scenarios, if you take more damage than the freezing value before it fill back, then you will die. For example, you take 20 damage and before it fill back to 100, you take 200 damage again, then you will die. Here, I freeze the value by activate or click on this box. So now Let's see what happening in the background or what changing this value. For that, select our address and press F6 button or right click on the address and select find out what writes to this address option. It will open a blank window like this. Now let's change the value. See, we got the instruction with changing this address. Don't confuse by just looking at the assembly code. This instruction is just moving the value of EDX and store it in the address is pointed by the RAX. Like we have 163 value in EDX register. We have some address stored in RAX register. In that specified address, we have some value like 0. Now, this instruction moves the value to the address stored in RAX. If we don't have any square brackets, that means it's not referring. It's directly performing the instruction on that particular register. For example, here it moves the EDX value to RAX. I hope you understand this. Here we have some information about the code and registers. If you click on this option, it will make this code does nothing. That's what exactly we want. When we click on this, it will open window where we can name it and save it to code list. When we click on this, it will open memory viewer window to show disassembler code. When we click on this, it will add the selected code to the code list. If we click on this, it will open a window to show more information about the instruction. This is the same information which we got here. Anyway, let's right click on this instruction. This will show the same option we just discussed. Now click on replace with code that does nothing. It asks me to give a name to this code, but I will keep it like this. Now, if we go to disassembler, the code is replaced with no. If we want to get back its original code, then simply right click on this and select restore with original code. See, it's changed. Now again, I'm changing it to no. If you close these tabs, still we have the code in our code list. The next button is activated. Let's close cheat engine and reopen it to check we still have our code. When you close the cheat engine, it will ask you to save your cheat table, so don't forget to save it. Now I open cheat engine again. Let me jump to that task by giving the password of it. Let's add our task to cheat engine. Now go to file section and load our cheat table. See, we got our address, but its value is 0. That means the current value changed its location. Now this address won't work anymore. If you open our code list, we still have our code here. If I set it to no, see, it's working. This is how we can hack the data even the address is changed. Now, let's start our task. You can read task details here. In this task, we need to find the pointer for our address and change the value to 500, then freeze it and click on the change pointer to activate next button. Each time we start the game or restart the match, the address will change. So if you want hack values, then we need to find the value address again. So we will ease this process by finding the pointer of the value. Let's see how pointers work. See, we have single level pointers here because our task have single level pointer only. We already discussed about pointers in our channel, but let's discuss briefly with this task. Here we have our base pointer address or static address, which won't change. We can store values and addresses in memory. In this static address, we have the another address. That means this static address point to the specific address. Offset is a difference between the addresses. Usually, we see some offsets with the addresses. For example, like this. That means whatever address we have in our memory, we need to add that offset to that specific address. Then we will get the destination address, where the instruction or code perform the task or store, read the values in it. In this scenario, we don't have any offset, so the instruction go to that address and store the value there. Remember, the program or game keep change the address when you restart the game or start a new match. But the static address and offsets are always same until the developer change in update or patches like that. Now let's continue our task. First find the value. We already do it a lot of times, so I'm not explaining again. Let's see what writes this address. See, it moves the EAX value to RDX reference address, and we don't have any offset here. Let's see what address is stored in RDX register. We got the address. Let's search this. See, we have a address in green color. That means it's static address. That is what we want. Now let's add it to our address list. Now let's add pointer to this address to always point or track the right address to access the value. Click on this pointer option. In this scenario, we don't have any offsets, so keep it at 0. If you see the value not matched to our value after set the offset, then make sure you set the correct data type and uncheck this hexadecimal option. Then you will see the exact value. Let's test this. I will name it task 6. See, both have the same value. Now, I will change it to 5000 and freeze the pointer. Let's change the pointer. See, the next button is activated. Now, let's change value. Here, our current value is updated in the pointer along with the current address. In the previous address, we still have the old value, so we don't need it anymore. Even you close or restart the game, this pointer still tracks the value. So you don't need to find the value again and again. I hope you understand this pointer concept. If you not understand yet, then don't worry. We have another task on multi-level pointer, so we will discuss more briefly there. Now let's go to next task. You can read task details here. We need to increment 2 points each time we hit the button. Here, we create our first script. First, as usual, find the value address. Now let's see what writes to this address. Here we have our code. This instruction subtract the value 1 from whatever the value stored in this location. Click on Tools. Here we use a new tool named Auto Assemble. Here we need to write our code. If you don't know how to code, then don't worry. Cheat Engine already provides some templates to use. So click on Template option. Here we have few options along with templates. We will cover each template in future. For now, let's use basic template. For this, let's click on Code Injection. This is used to inject our code to the program for temporary use. It won't affect our main code. So even when you did wrong and crash the game, you can restart and play normally. This window will ask you on what address you need to jump when you run this code. You can specify the address here. If you don't know anything, then don't worry. The cheat engine will create some space in RAM for you to execute your codes. So click on OK. See, it gives a template for us. Now let's see what we have. See, this allocate function will allocate the space in the RAM for us. The cheat table set a name to our new memory as new mem. You can name it whatever you want. For beginners, just keep it like this. It allocates 2048 bytes in memory for us. It will create this space around this address each time when we run it. Here, we have 3 labels to tell cheat engine what is what. Written here label will return to the code flow. Original code label is the original instruction what we're working on. Exit label is used to exit the block. Here we want to write our code. Here is our original code. We can directly modify this. But in some scenarios, if you edit original code, whatever other addresses access this code will also be affected. It may disturb the game behavior or crash the game. So don't touch it unless it doesn't affect other functions. Here, it's subtracting the word pointer by 1 each time when we click on the change button. Here we have exit block, where it jumped to the remaining code. This is the address of where our code plays around. This instruction used to jump the code flow to our allocated memory to execute our code. This creates a line of does nothing. We will discuss about this later. After executing, it will come back to the original code flow. Now we know what instruction is used for what. Let's write our code. For this, copy our original code and paste it here. Now, instead of subtracting, we need add method here to increment our value when we click on the button. We need to increment 2 values. But in our original code, it decreases 1 value. If you increase only 2, then the original code will decrease by 1. So we only have 1 increment each time. For that, increment this with 3. Now we have 2 increments each time we change the value. That's what exactly we want. Before execute our code, I have to tell you one thing. If you write code and execute it, the code will work. But problem is, if you close this window, you can't access it again. So if you want to make any changes or access it for later use, you need to add this to our address list. For adding this script to the address list, you need to go to File, Assign to Current Cheat Table option. See, we got error. It says we need to have enable or disable section in our script. Because if you observe our address list, each address or pointers or scripts will have active section to activate or deactivate those instructions. You can write enable at starting of the code and write disable at ending of the code. Or you can simply go to templates. In that, click on cheat table framework code. But this is not enough because you have what code need to run on enable, but you don't have any code under disable section. So go to file and click on new window or new tab. Now go to templates and click on cheat table framework code. Now click on code injection. Now cheat engine will automatically generate the code for disabled section as well. Let's write our code again. Now add it to our address list. Now we can use our code whenever we want, and we can make changes by clicking on script option. Let's active this and check our script. See, it increased by 2 each time, and next button also activated. If we disable it, the code will work normally. See, it decreasing. If you observe our code flow in memory view, it creates a jump section to our allocated memory to execute our task. If you click on follow or space button, it will take you to our code in allocated memory. If you want to go back to our code flow, then click on backspace or right click on the instruction and click on back option. If you disable it, the cheat engine will remove all allocated space to free up memory. Now let's go to the next task. Here you can read the task details. Here we have two buttons. One is for changing the value and another is for changing the pointer. In this task, we need to find multi-level pointer and freeze the value at 5000 while it changing the pointer when we click on the change pointer option. Before start our task, let me explain how multi-level pointers work. Here we have our multi-level pointer. First, we have our static address which is not changed. It contains an address. It have 23 offset. So we need to add 23 to that specific address. Then we will get another address. Now this pointer go to that address and checks what's in it. In that address we have another address. This address have 10 offset. So when we add 10 to that specific address, we get another address. If we go to that address, we will get another address. This time, this address doesn't have any offset. So the pointer go to that address directly. In that address, it will perform tasks like storing, reading, or modify the value in it. Each time the game or program launch or start the new match, the address will change. If you observe, each time the address are changed, but the static address and offsets doesn't change. Here, the offset are predefined, means the developer already defines the offset to pointers to keep track the values even the address are changed. So we can rely on pointers and offset to make our hacks always work. Let's begin our hack. First, find the value. Here is our value. If you click on Table Extras option, a window will open to note down some important details while hacking. Here, I am going to take this address and its value. Now find what access this address. Now find what access this address. Now let's find this address. Start new scan and click on hex option, then paste our address. Let's find out. Here we have two addresses. I don't know which one is correct. I am taking first two address. At the end, if you get wrong result, that means you take wrong addresses. Then you need to keep try on different addresses. Now note this. Now let's see what access this address. Here we don't have any offset for RSA register. Let's see what address stored in RSA register. Note this. Offset is 0. Let's search for this address. I am taking this address. Note the address. Check what access this address. This time we have 18 offset for RSA register. Let's note the address. Now find this address. I am taking first address and note it. Let's repeat our process. This time we have 10 offset. Note the details. Let's scan for the address. See, we got green address, means static address. See, we got our all details about the pointer. Let's see we found the correct static address or not. Now, add offsets to the pointer. You can click on add address manually option and add static address and its pointers. But we already have the address in our address list. So I directly click on the address and add offsets. This is 4-level pointer. So let's add 4 offsets. Now enter offsets correctly. You need to add offsets from top to bottom. First, we have 10 offset, then 80. I keep it as 0. Lastly, we have 18. After I enter the offsets and get different value here, don't worry. First, check the data type is correct and make sure uncheck hexadecimal option. See, now it's changed to our correct value. The destination address also same. I will name it as task 8. Click on OK. I don't need these addresses anymore. See, the pointer and current address have the same value. Now set the value to 5000. Now click on change pointer. Before completing 3 seconds, click on OK. The next button is activated. See, we still have the value in our pointer, but the previous address not have the value. You can see the current value address in our pointer. This address is different with our previous address. If you change the pointer, then we don't have the previous address anymore. You can see the updated address list in our pointer. Let's start our next task. You can read the task details here. Here, we have 4 players. 2 of them have only 100 health and remaining have 500 health. If we start the game, the first 2 players die fastly because of the low health. So, we need to stop taking damage for those 2 players. Let's find the value. Let's see what access the address. I forgot to explain about this count option. It will tell how many times this instruction accessing this address from the cheat engine start debugging. We have 4 instructions which accessing this address. If you're not sure which instruction we are looking for, then close the window and see what writes to this address. See, we got the address what we are looking for. Until now, we see move method, but here we have move SS. This also works as move, but it works on XMM registers. You can't see this register. You can't see these registers in registers list. To see the XMM registers, we have to go to more information option. Here, click on this F button. See, here we have our XMM registers. Here we have another type of register. And we have data types as well. If you click on it, it will change the view to normal. Like I said before, I will teach every option in the cheat engine. Let's go to instruction. Some people think freezing the instruction will work. So let's see. What happening? I just freeze the instruction which modify the first player address. But remaining players also affected. But why? Because these 4 players access the same instruction to take effect on their health. First, let's restore with original code. So, if you freeze it, it will apply for all players. But We want it to affect on only first two players. Let's see how to do that. We already know all players accessing the same instruction. So instead of finding address for each player, we can click on what addresses this code access. It will open a window. Here we have the instruction address as well. Attack every player. To perform this instruction differently for first two players, then we need to find the commonalities between players, which differentiate the first two players from last two players. I make first two players as group 1 and remaining as group 2. Before start scanning, I will check the commonalities between those. Here, we don't have much information. So, double click on the RBX address status because our instruction have the RBX register. Now, set max level to 0 for accurate results. It automatically takes our addresses as groups. I set data type as float. Keep remaining as it is. Click on scan button and it will ask you to save path. At offset 8, we have our health values. At offset 14, we have our commonalities. I will show you another method as well. Take our first player address. Now open the memory view. Click on tools. Go to data or structure reset. Now paste the address of the first player. Make sure to replace the last number with a 0 because we already know that address contains player's health, but we want to check all details of the player. So we don't know where the player commonalities are stored. We know at offset 14 we have the commonalities, but still let me show you. Click on the structures, click on define new structure, set a name to it. See, we have all data types of the player offset and those data types and our values. Now take second player address. Press Ctrl A or go to file and click on add new address. Paste the address here and don't forget to replace the last number with 0. Take third player address. Now press Ctrl G to create new group or go to file and click on add new group. Here paste the address and replace last number with 0. Now take fourth player address and press Ctrl A to add new address and paste the address. Don't forget to replace 0 at last. See, we have all details of the players. At offset 8, we have their health details. At offset 14, we have the commonalities. We got the same results. but this one gave more details. Now start our code injection. Go to disassembler for this instruction. Now click on auto assemble. I already explained how to write or how code injection works in task 7. So I don't go in depth now. Now our players have commonalities at offset 14. For first two players, we have value like 1 and remaining have 2. So let's add a code which check player offset at 14 and compare it to 1. If it is equal to 1, then the code will not affect the players. If it is not equal to 1, then the instruction works normally, which means it will take the value from XMM register and decrease it from the value which store in offset 8. Let's implement the code. Write the code like this. CMP means comparing the source with destination. In this scenario, compare 1 with value stored in RBX register at offset 14. JE means jump if equal to. If the address have value 1, then it will jump to exit where the remaining code is running. If the value is not 1, then it come to original code block and take effect by the instruction. Now let's execute it. Our code is added here. Let's activate our script. See, it's working. Start the game. I hope this video gives you knowledge on basic tools in Cheat Engine. In our upcoming videos, we will learn more about scripting, tools, and methods. So, see you in the next one.